we got some Zelensky news. Lots going down since this peace deal, Craig. We say peace deal because you had your 28-point plan, you got your 19-point plan. Well, here's what's going on now behind the scenes. It's not so behind the scenes. I know that the Western media outlets would like to keep this behind the scenes, but you can't really keep this stuff under wraps because it's happening right in front of our faces. Here's the latest. Zelensky's top aide and key peace negotiator resigns after anti-corruption raid of his home. Anti-corruption. I'm sure he was just a bad apple, Craig. He was just doing malicious stuff on his own. Everything else was on the up and up. And that's it. You got to get rid of the bad apple and get back to business as usual, which is funneling more money into the military-industrial complex, into warmongers' pockets, and into the Congress people's pockets of the people that voted for all the billions and billions of dollars. So there we go. This is the one of the Ukraine's most influential political operators and close aide. Basically, people said he was the number 2 aide of Zelensky. He's resigned just hours after an anti-corruption agency raided his home. Major crisis. You think, as Kyiv faces new pressure from the U.S. to accept the peace deal and end the war with Russia. The 19-point plan, I don't think Putin's going to accept that one, but okay. Because there's nothing in there about Ukraine not joining NATO, which has to be in there. Why don't people know this? Ukraine can't join NATO. Ukraine can't join NATO for the last effing time. Okay, so Andriy Yermak, often seen as Ukraine's second most powerful man, has been leading Ukraine delegation during recent talks in Geneva with Washington. His resignation, which was announced by Zelensky on Friday, complicates Kyiv's position going into crucial peace negotiating with the United States. You think? Yeah, it certainly does. And yeah, however you want to look at it, that was CNN's light take on it. What we're seeing is it's an FBI takedown of his top aide. They called him Zelensky's brain. One day after Trump's peace deadline, the raid exposed stolen U.S. aid. Now the question is how much ended up with Congress members who voted for endless wars. And now Zelensky's facing political peril as corruption scandal consumes his top aide. So yeah, he's kind of in a pickle, but he's been in one this whole way. And Glenn Dyson says, never forget that anyone who argued that Zelensky's government was corrupt, Ukraine was losing the war, Ukraine had much higher casualties, etc., were smeared as Putinists. Our politicians and their stenographers in the media had lied and spread their war propaganda for one purpose: to engineer public support for war. When an overwhelming majority of Ukrainians wanted peace talks, our politicians refused to even speak with Moscow. When Ukrainians voted for peace in 2019, our government financed NGOs reversed the election outcome. When it became evident that the best way they could hope for was that Ukraine to lose more slowly and take more casualties, there was zero dissent. They knew Russia considers NATO in Ukraine to be an existential threat, yet they toppled the Ukrainian government, instigated war, sabotaged peace agreements, and fueled the war while pretending to help Ukraine by having their youth dragged out of their homes and sent into the trenches. That happened. We've reported on that every time. It's been happening the whole time. If they had believed in their war propaganda, they would not have censored or canceled all dissent, but they did. So that's where we're at now. We got more update on Zelensky. If you want to chime in on this development, Craig, how does this affect the quote unquote peace deal that I guess we determined last week that it was maybe one step in the right direction? How does this affect that?
I would say it is a positive step in the right direction, even if it's just fake. Any type of communications between two superpowers to, especially when you're putting on the table to dumb down the nukes, to get rid of some nukes, because that's what's always been on the forefront, right? Has been like, okay, we have to talk about the START treaty. No matter what's going on over there, we have to kind of reduce our nukes. We have to sign a pact to do that. That is going to be positive any way, shape, or form. Let's not forget that the Biden administration, for whatever reasons, didn't even want to have any communications with the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin and his cronies, or his group of people, whatever you want to call them. And when I say cronies, I'm talking about Dmitry Kirillov, whatever his name is, the guy who's obviously plugged into the West, the banking industries and whatnot, who seems to be at the forefront making a lot of decisions. But what's really to come of this? When you look at this situation, you say to yourself, what's really happening? we see a lot of pressure that's being put on the Zelensky regime when they're talking about the corruption that's going on. It seems like to me, if you're looking at this thing, if what is playing out in front of us is actually real and it's not pre-planned or pre-scripted, that they're saying, Zelensky, you're going to make the deal. If you don't make the deal, we're going to bring you down. So you have one choice, make the deal or make the deal. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we see a lot of this happening. If they are using this as a way of a mechanism to move Zelensky in a way to come up with a peace deal, then I'm all for it. But if it's hard for me to believe that, right? You know what I'm saying? Who knows what they have scripted for us? But that's what it appears to be for me right now, right? They're pushing to make this deal. Donald Trump wants to concentrate a lot of his efforts and his money in the military-industrial complex in Latin America. It's obvious that that is going down. We see the opinions he's made about the Honduras election. We see what's going on in Venezuela. So it seems like he wants to wrap this up over here because that would be a political victory for him, that the optics will make it look like he's the hero, that he is the peace president, which he's not, right? So that's what I'm seeing when I look at this and I see this corruption. We've known for how long the corruption scandals have been going on. Anybody who's been paying attention and listening to the third camp that you talk about knows clear as day that this has been a money laundering scheme since day one. Not just the military-industrial complex. We found out with the FTX scandal with Samuel Bankman-Fried that there was money being funneled back to American politicians, right? In the Senate, in the Congress. So we know this has been going on for quite some time. It doesn't seem like he wants to bring all that down. He just wants to force Zelensky's hand to say, make a deal so I can look good. The optics of what he's done with the whole Gaza situation, which is just simply the internationalizing of Israel taking control of Gaza and the United States building a military base there. It's disgusting, but the optics look like he's bringing about peace. He wants the same optics over here too as well, so he can concentrate for more wars here in Latin America. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to see peace. We want to see killing stop, and we want to see sanctions lift. We want to see
sanctions lifted.
Open up. And I know we are. You know what I'm saying? I know we are, but you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't even guarantee anything for us. That guarantees an opportunity, right? For some of us, we go on RT, we speak on RT, we have things to present to RT. We'd like to see that open up. Whether it be Sputnik, RT, well, we don't know. We just have to hold our breath. But, I mean, it's not just RT in itself. RT has their own issues, their own problems. They're obviously making a move to more of the conservative woke bullshit they're standing behind. We see them pushing more of that stuff. Okay, but they're still, 75, 80% of the way non-imperialistic, right? They have this different avenue of news that we don't get anywhere else. We'd like to see more of that news come into play. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't look at the history of Russia and what they went through, right? This whole Bolshevik revolution thing where they're trying to manipulate this situation, they're not understanding the history of fucking Russia. When Napoleon went into Russia, to Moscow, they burnt the whole fucking city down and left, right? The people of Russia, if you understand their history, they understand they're sitting on resources galore. The world wants it. And they rather fucking die than be prisoners to anybody else taking those resources, whether it had been Napoleon, whether it had been Hitler, whether it had been the West. They don't care. People have to understand that. They don't understand the history of Russia. They're what lies all the problems right now, and it's getting so manipulated, where they can still sell a lot of these people that are for this, by the way, for the intervention in Venezuela, those people that we talked about, the Bill O'Reillys, the Glenn Becks, the Jamie, whatever his name is on Fox, the Hannitys, the Matt Gaetz, they all think that Putin is evil. They all think that Putin's a dictator. You know what I'm saying? They don't even understand the history of what's going on in Russia. So, if we have any movement here whatsoever, I think it's going to be good at the end of the day. But let's hope we have movement. I won't believe it, right, until the fat lady is singing, Matt.
Yeah. Well,
sorry for going in all these different places. There's so many things to take into consideration that are just being left out in the cold. And unfortunately, our voices are being silenced. This third camp, you have all these people in the independent media that are just playing ball. They're the alternative mainstream media. They're going along with the talking points. And those voices were elevated. They were elevated by Elon. They were elevated by whoever's controlling the media, which we can assume a lot of Zionists are. Those voices were elevated while our voices were suppressed. There's a lot more to the story out there than meets the eye, and we need to push forth with the truth and what's going on.
Yeah, and we've been consistent with it the whole time. We said
Principles.
from the beginning, principle, and we've applied it from the beginning February 2022. We told everybody that this could only end a few different ways, and it's not going to be Putin losing. That's not going to happen. The deal he had given, the Minsk agreement, was the best you were going to get if you were going to engage and have NATO instigate this war, and Putin was going to defend that border and start the war. You knew that you weren't going to get a better deal than that. That was very obvious. And there's another thing we also knew about it, Craig. We knew that there was only one way this could end for Zelensky. Well, two ways, but both of those mean a bad ending for him, either dead or exiled, certainly resigned, certainly all of those elements in shame, not in celebration. He's not getting a holiday from this. That's never going to happen.
Exiled in Greece with all that money, exiled in Miami with all that money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he can still really, to say the truth. The other way is him being slaughtered by the Azov battalion for not, for wanting to play ball. I think that's the question people ask is, can he even make a deal? Will the Azov battalion allow him to make a deal?
There's a deal in the works here, it looks like. So I might have buried the lead on this, but we know this is happening right now in real time. By the time I put the segment up, this might already have happened, but RT's tweeted this out. Zelensky will step down this week. So that will happen, according to a Rada member who claims on his Telegram channel that Zelensky has been ordered to resign without specifying who gave the order. He also claims that Zelensky will do everything to postpone the inevitable. Obviously, that fits his personality to postpone, is drag it out as long as possible. Well, now we have Douglas McGregor telling us that his evacuation, which we might see very soon this week, might involve a little place we call Israel. Check it out.
There are preparations to fly Zelensky and much of his inner circle to Israel, where they have immunity against extradition for criminal proceedings, and that's what they're going to need when they finish up in Ukraine. They've got one foot right now in Ukraine and the other foot really in the door of the aircraft to fly them out. People don't realize how weak and fragile this Ukrainian government is. Earlier today, I received some information from Eastern Europe, and I was told that people are coming out of the basements and homes in Prokhovsk, and they're saying, to the Russians, thank God, let's get this over with, help end this war. And many of them are saying what initially back in 2022 in February, March, April, were saying in Luhansk and Donetsk, what took you so long? I think increasingly the population that lives in eastern Ukraine and much of the population in the West desperately wants an end to this war. And they realize it will only end with one outcome. That is the elimination of Zelensky and his regime.
There it is. So one way or another, he's out. And if that resignation happens this week, you could see that exiling happen.
If this is the off ramp, then so be it. Whatever the off ramp is, let's just get off this ramp. Let's end this war and move on. You know what I'm saying?
I just can't understand how the media spins this one. Like you said, it wasn't just the CNN and the MSNBC and the Democratic Party machine pushing this, and Biden signing all this, funneling the money, Ukraine flags in everyone's effing social media profile. It was the Fox News people too. So they were all doing it, right? They were all just like, we have to stop Putin from taking over the planet. He's the next Hitler. Everybody did it. So how do you spin this? Zelensky's guy just got raided. He's all this money, extortion, all this stuff. Are they going to be able to pin it on these two guys, the number one and number two guys? They're going to be able to
that's what it seems like. They're going to pin it on them.
That they were uniquely off, and or maybe they have mental illness, Craig. They had mental illness.
Matt, you know as well as I do, American citizens like the bad guy. That's what the mentality, they wrap their head around. I made a tweet once before. I said his name is Vladimir Putin, not Thanos. Like, they like the bad guy. And these are the patsies, they're going to play it off on these two guys. They go over to Israel, they get to leave, keep their money. They usher in a new government in which the Russian Federation's happy, because the Russian Federation won't settle with Zelensky being president. So they usher in a new government. They make deals on the 28-point plan that became the 19-point plan. They reach a 22-point plan. they make some deals and they move on with business. Sanctions get lifted. The Russians get to plug back into the Western markets again, like they desperately want to. Because that's the thing. When I said his goons, right? Like, once again, you don't hear me talk too badly about the Russian government and Vladimir Putin, the Federation, because once again, I think this was us antagonizing them on their border. I only, I don't hold that against them for doing what they did, especially after Angela Merkel admitted that Minsk 1 and 2 was nothing but a stall tactic.
Yeah,
we understand we understand that there was a color revolution. It was backed by us, Victoria Nuland, the whole thing. So, I said as goons, but they really desperately want to plug into the Western markets. They want that, and they want to do business. And if they can find a way to make that happen, sign the treaties, to start treaties, to lower the nuclear weapons, have certain agreements, new government in there. These are the patsies. Who cares? Let's move along. Let's play ball, and let's have a new opening, a new day. They'll go along with that. And eventually, what the Russian Federation will do is they'll whack Zelensky in 5 years from now. He won't live in 5 years. They'll assassinate him. He will not be able to leave Israel. But, once again, there's ties between Israel and the Russia. Russia will not fund the genocide the way the United States did, but they'll never not recognize Israel's right to exist and have that country.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Lavrov even has, Lavrov even has like Israeli family members, and 1/3 of the Jews in Russia, in Israel, I believe, come from the Slavic Russia, Ukrainian era, and most of your old, your prime ministers in Israel have come from Odessa. So I mean, there's a relationship there, but Zelensky, he might get out for now, but within 5 years they'll have him whacked. You know what I'm saying? Russia will do the things on their terms. They'll agree to stuff right now. They'll play ball, and while everything's settled and Zelensky's calmed down and he's settled on in, he'll have a sip of coffee and it will have lie in it, whatever you call it. I put lie in his coffee, and he'll be whacked.
Oh no!
So
I'm hearing the
appropriate times. Zelensky's not getting away from anything.
Israel's the perfect place to protect somebody like Zelensky.
He'll hang out with the other pedophiles.
You're talking about all the pedophiles. They get to just have their go on with their life. Everything's good. Nothing to see here. It's exactly where you'd expect someone like him to end up. If there was a chance that he wouldn't get taken out, that would be his best bet, is Israel. That's my take. But you're right. They could off him in the next 5 years for sure.
Yeah, they'll wait. They'll bide their time.
Yeah, they'll bide their time.
When he's calmed and relaxed and he thinks it's all over, that's when they'll strike. They got that old school KGB blood. I must break you, Ivan Draga. They'll get him.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we gotta, look at how they're gonna package this story and move us forward and pretend that Zelensky was never celebrated on the big stage. He was never on, coming up on the screen at the Hollywood Awards and given, Oscars by.
John. Matt.
We'll have to pretend that never happened. There's another thing we're going to have to pretend that never happened, because right now we know that a lot of the Democrats and some of the Republicans are upset at Pete Hegseth and saying he's going crazy with his Secretary of War position. They don't want you to remember this. There you go. There's your signing of bombs right with Zelensky. The internet is forever, guys. So if you're in this shot, you're part of history. You're part of history. You were one of those psychopaths who put your name on a bomb standing next to Zelensky. Wow. These are the same people that are telling you we have to be careful about our Secretary of War and Trump because they're uniquely evil. Not the previous administration. None of you guys were evil doing this. But yeah, we all have short-term memory, so we'll probably forget about it. I don't even know what this is. I don't even know what the timestamp is. I'm going to forget about it. We never even saw it, Craig. Never happened.
Disgusting. All right. Disgusting.